Hi and welcome back. Today we're going to focus on making shingles. The shingles I'll be making follow the traditional 3-tab design. This is the classic type of shingle here in the US, and the one that would have been used on the full-size house I'm modeling mine after. In preparation, I ordered some materials. I'm going to be making my shingles out of sheets of wet dry sandpaper. First off, I need to cut out all the shingles from the sandpaper sheets. I really want to avoid manufacturing each shingle one at a time if I can help it. In particular, the slots between each tabs on the shingles would be a particularly difficult geometry to cut anyway. Really, the perfect tool for this job would be a die cutter. And that's when I started thinking, could I somehow replicate this process using the tools and materials I have in my shop? I had to give it a try. First, I cut a strip of steel to form into the cutter. In order to stiffen up the strip, I scribed a line along the length of the piece and folded over the material along that line. To sharpen the cutter, I ground an edge along its length on an abrasive sharpening stone. I marked each piece where the material would need to be folded. I labeled each segment so that each piece correlated to a quick diagram I put together. After bending the die, I was almost done. The last step was to harden the die. And finally, it's time to try it out. Well, that was a total flop. I was really hoping that would work. But that's how it goes sometimes. Not every experiment is a success. Anyway, I took a break for a few days, and when I came back, I had a better solution. This new idea involves a new tool, a paper cutter. I should be able to place multiple sheets of material underneath the blade, and in one chop, they'll all be cut. In theory, I should be able to cut up my sandpaper into shingle-sized pieces pretty quickly, too. First though, I'm going to test that I can cut an accurately sized shingle blank using this tool. And yes, it looks like I can. Time to move on to the real thing. In order to properly locate the slots in these shingles, I'll make myself a plywood template. Now I can sandwich this template in between a stack of shingle blanks, and then drill through the whole thing to get perfectly positioned holes across the entire stack. And finally, I can cut through the stack with scissors to complete each slot. Here are the finished shingles. They aren't quite as precise as I'd hoped they'd be, but I think they'll do the job. Now it's time to go into assembly line mode. I have a lot of shingles to make. The last step of this project is to install all these shingles onto the roof of the house. To begin, I'm going to install the starter strip. This is actually the offcut from the end of the sandpaper pieces. It's just about the right size. This piece helps make the first course of shingles look a lot nicer, among other things. I leave a slight overhang on both sides to ensure that water won't be able to reach the fascia board below. With the starter strip installed, I can now install the first course of shingles. For the second course, I want to offset the whole row half a tab to the left. So I cut down the first shingle before attaching it to the roof. It's important that the reveal, i.e. the distance from one shingle to the next, stays consistent. This for me is half of an inch. And from this point I just kept going. This is really repetitive, monotonous work. Once I got to the top, I stopped a little before I reached the ridge. And here's the first roof pitch, completely shingled. For the next pitch, I decided to try something a bit different. I marked lines every 1/2 inch using a ruler, and used these lines to guarantee a consistent reveal between shingle rows. This ended up working out quite well. Now, unfortunately, this is where I hit some trouble. I ran out of pins. Normally this wouldn't be all that big of a deal, but because of COVID-19, it's made it a bit difficult to source them in a timely manner. But here is what I was able to complete. As a final step, I'm going to glue down any shingles that are sticking up with super glue. Also, I can't resist. I have to try this thing out. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm still very much a novice when it comes to roofing, and probably have done at least something small wrong. If you've done this sort of thing before, feel free to post a comment. Until next time, see you later.